Today I am going to complete theoretical part in thermodynamics, in particular thermochemistry. So listen carefully. Thank you. So listen carefully, boys. This is very, very important. Yesterday we completed heat of formation. What is it? Heat of formation. That is the amount of heat energy may be released or absorbed, which is called as enthalpy of the formation, enthalpy of the reaction. That is the amount of heat energy may be released or absorbed, or enthalpy change. Generally, we are taking like that enthalpy of the reaction and the change in enthalpy of the reaction during the formation of 1 mole product in its standard state from its element from its standard state, which is called as enthalpy of formation of the particular products. If all are taking a standard condition, those are standard enthalpy of formation. Okay. Next, enthalpy of combustion. When 1 mole substance is going to be complete combustion in excess of oxygen, something heat energy may be released. That released energy is called as heat of combustion, which is called as enthalpy of combustion. See, boys, here sometimes I'm using heat, sometimes I'm using enthalpy change. So both are same. Enthalpy change is a technical word. Heat is the common word. Enthalpy change means that may be released energy or absorbed energy. And either of these two is I'm considering it. Okay, so released energy or absorbed energy, enthalpy change, the term frequently used. So heat energy may be released or sometimes may be absorbed. So that is released energy, absorbed energy. Particularly, we are going to discuss it. Is this released energy or absorbed energy? During enthalpy, so maybe released energy or absorbed energy depending on the situation. There is no need of particular releasing condition or absorbed condition. Okay, so next, the heat of combustion per 1 gram of the substance. The heat of combustion per 1 gram of the substance is called as calorific value of that particular substance. Heat of combustion per 1 gram of the substance, which is called as the calorific value of the substance. So generally this word is applicable for fuel cells. So fuel efficiency are generally explained with the help of this calorific value. So calorific value is equal to heat of combustion by either its molecular weight or atomic weight. If there is a molecule, use molecular weight. If there is an element or atom, so use atomic weight. So calorific value is equal to heat of combustion of that substance by its atomic weight or molecular weight. Up to this concept, yesterday I completed. Now I'm going to continue the concept. See here, next topic that is very, very important. That is heat of neutralization. Heat of neutralization, also called as enthalpy of neutralization. Heat of neutralization or enthalpy of neutralization. What is this heat of neutralization or enthalpy of neutralization? Before going to take that one, so first of all, what is neutralization? So during the process of neutralization, there should be something energy may be released or absorbed. That released or absorbed energy is called as heat of neutralization or enthalpy of neutralization. So generally, so heat of neutralization is nothing but, so it is always negative energy. Heat of neutralization is always negative, boys. That means always energy released. Nothing but exothermic reaction. Heat of neutralization is always exothermic. That means heat energy always released. Why? I will explain. Please wait. So energy released process, heat of neutralization. Therefore, delta H in this case, neutralization in this case is always negative, boys. Heat of combustion always negative. Heat of neutralization always negative. Heat of formation may be negative or positive. Please bear in mind, heat of formation may be positive or negative. May heat of combustion always negative. Combustion is always releasing energy. Neutralization also always releases energy. Neutralization also always releases energy. So heat of neutralization. So what is this neutralization? So neutralization means it is the reaction between acid and base. So that is nothing but acid-base reaction. Any acid-base reaction is called as neutralization reaction. Any acid-base reaction is called as neutralization reaction. What is this neutralization reaction? Nothing but it is a reaction between acid and base. So generally we have acids. Those acids may be strong acids or weak acids. Acids may be strong acids or weak acids. So strong acids generally we consider that is HCl, H2SO4, HNO3. These are nothing but strong acids. HClO4, perchloric acid. All these are strong acids, boys. Next, weak acids, generally HCN, hydrogen cyanide. Next, acetic acid, CH3COOH, and formic acid, oxalic acid, H2C2O4. All these are weak acids. So in our chemistry, some are strong acids, some are weak acids. Similarly, bases also. Bases also. Some strong bases are there, some weak bases are there. Strong bases and weak bases. Strong bases are nothing but our alkali metal hydroxides. That is NaOH, KOH, CSOH. All these are strong bases, boys. Weak bases, nothing but ammonium hydroxide, aluminum hydroxide. So these are nothing but weak bases. So in our chemistry, some strong bases are there, weak bases are there. Some acids are strong acids are there, weak acids are there. So before going to that, so what is acid, sir? What is this acid? Any substance which releases H plus ions in aqueous solution is called as an acid. Any substance which releases H plus ion in its aqueous solution is an acid. So any substance which releases OH minus ion in its aqueous solution is called a base. It's called a base. So that is acid, that is base. These are the substances either strong or weak. Those release H plus ion, that's why those are acids. So these are releasing OH minus ion, these are bases. But some are quickly releases, some are slowly releases, depending on the situation. So those acids which gives H plus ions quickly are called as strong acids, which gives H plus ions slowly are called as weak acids. Similarly, those gives OH minus ions quickly are called strong bases. So slowly, those are considered as weak bases. See here. So neutralization means reaction between acid and base. Reaction between acid and base. This is acid-base reaction. During this process, so when acid reacts with base, something heat energy, heat may be heat released, not maybe, exactly. Released energy. This released energy is called as heat of neutralization. This released energy is called as heat of neutralization. I am giving one example. Please stay here, boys. So, see here. I am taking acid-base reaction. There is a HCl. It is acid and it is treated as a strong acid. Listen carefully, very, very important. And NaOH, it is a strong base. NaOH is strong base. These two react with each other. That gives NaCl, salt, plus H2O, water. NaCl, salt, and H2O, water. This is the reaction. That is HCl, acid, strong acid, reacts with strong base. That gives salt and water. Okay. During this process, some heat energy, delta H, is always negative. How much energy is released, sir? That released energy is called as heat of neutralization. So for our convenience, see here. So what is acid? Any substance when it is dissolved in water that releases H plus ion. H plus ion, aqueous ion. From acid, it is H plus ion. From base, always that releases OH minus ion, which is in aqueous solution. So this H plus ion from acid, this OH minus ion from base react with each other, that gives H2O liquid. H2O liquid. So this is nothing but neutralization reaction. It is a neutralization reaction. It is a neutralization. So this reaction is neutralization, means indirectly this is the neutralization reaction. Any acid always releases H plus ion. Any base always releases OH minus ion. So this acid and base, that means always H plus and OH minus ion interact with each other. That gives H2O. That means, so whatever it may be the acid, H plus is common. Whatever it may be the base, OH minus is common. That means these two reactants are fixed. Whatever it may be the acid, whatever it may be the base, those reactants are H plus and OH minus ion. If reactants are fixed, the product also fixed. Same product is always formed. Same product. That means whatever it may be the reaction is there. Whatever it may be the reaction is there. Always acid releases H plus ion, always base releases OH minus ion, always H plus and OH minus involved in the reaction, always that gives H2O water. That means in this reaction, reactants and products are fixed. Automatically, the released energy also fixed. The released energy also fixed, because reactant fixed, automatically product fixed. Because heat of reaction depends on nature of the reactants and products. Nature of the reactants and products. So those reactants and products are same. Automatically released energy is always water. The released energy is always fixed. That means, so if this is strong acid, this is from strong base. That means this is water formed, always something heat energy released. That released energy is minus 13.7 kilocalorie per mole. Minus 13.7 kilocalorie per mole, which is delta H value. So delta H value is minus 13.7 kilocalorie. Minus means released. How much is the quantity of value? So 13.7 kilocalorie per mole. 13.7 kilocalorie per mole, that much energy is released. So whatever it may be the strong acid, whatever it may be the strong base, always the released energy is 13.7. Always the released energy is 13.7. Therefore, heat of this energy is called as heat of neutralization. This energy is called as heat of neutralization. So what is this heat of neutralization? That is the amount of heat energy released when 1 mole water molecule is formed. Always it is applicable for 1 mole. So heat of neutralization means that is the amount of heat released when 1 mole water molecule, liquid water, it is important. 1 mole liquid water molecule is formed from its oppositely charged ions, that is from H plus ion and OH minus ion. So the released energy is called as heat of neutralization. Which is called as heat of neutralization. So whatever it may be the acid, always releases H plus ion. Whatever it may be the base, always releases OH minus ion. That means always the product is water only. How many moles of water should be formed? So for our definition, only 1 mole water should be formed. 1 mole water formation means, so always 13.7 kilocalorie per mole will be released. So the same value in terms of kilojoules, that is minus 57.3 kilojoule per mole. In terms of kilojoules, this is the value. In terms of kilocalories, this is the value. See boys, 57.3. This 7 and 3 is interchanged. So it is 13.7. It is 57.3. It is in kilocalorie per mole. It is in kilojoule per mole. So that means heat of neutralization for strong acid and strong base is always fixed. Heat of neutralization for strong acid and strong base is always fixed. Is always fixed. Okay. So this is very, very important. This is very, very important. So it is applicable only for strong acid and strong base. Strong acid and strong base. So those strong acids already represented just like before the concepts. So any strong acid reacts with any strong base. Always that strong acid releases H plus ion. Always the strong base releases OH minus ion. That base releases 1 mole water. It is only for applicable for only 1 mole water molecule. Now, what is heat of neutralization, sir? How to define this heat of neutralization? So heat of neutralization is nothing but that is the amount of heat energy released when 1 mole undissociated water molecule is formed. When 1 mole undissociated water molecule is formed from 1 mole H plus ion, aqueous H plus ion reacts with 1 mole aqueous OH minus ion. Is called as heat of neutralization. So heat of neutralization is always expressed for 1 mole formation of water. It is with respect to water. It is with respect to water. Okay. This is heat of neutralization. See here, I am giving one example. I am giving one example. I will give. See here. So see here. It is a strong acid. It is a strong base. So how much amount of this strong acid is taken? 1 gram equivalent of strong acid is taken. 1 gram equivalent of strong base is taken. Okay. So the something amount of energy will be released, that is minus 13.7 kilocalorie per mole or minus 57.3 kilojoule per mole. So these are fixed values. Those are. So that released energy is called as heat of neutralization. I will give the statement in another way. See here, 1 gram equivalent of acid reacts with 1 gram equivalent of base. So something heat energy may be released. That released energy is called as heat of neutralization. That released energy is called as heat of neutralization. See here. So what is heat of neutralization? That is the amount of heat energy released when 1 gram equivalent of acid, strong acid reacts with 1 gram equivalent of strong base. That is called as heat of neutralization. So whenever strong acid or strong bases are used, the value is fixed to minus 13.7 kilocalorie per mole and also or minus 57.3 kilojoule per mole. These are fixed values because always H plus and OH minus and fixed, reactants are fixed, so products also fixed, automatically released energy also fixed. Released energy also fixed. Okay, so this is the way to express heat of neutralization. See here, always it is in strong acid, it is strong base. For example, HF. HF. If HF is used as an acid, so if HS it is acid, it is an exceptional case, boys. Exceptional case. If HF is the acid, the released heat energy greater than 13.7 kilocalorie per mole. It is a property of the HF. So if HF is the acid, listen carefully. If HF is the acid, so whatever it may be the base, that is strong base. So the released energy is always greater than 13.7 kilo, that is 57.3 kilojoule per mole. So 13.7 kilocalorie per mole or 57.3 kilojoule per mole if HF is the acid. It is the only exceptional case. It is the observed fact. It is the observed fact. Okay. Because single HF molecule is not involved in it, so number of HF molecules are involved, automatically huge amount of energy will be released. That means that should be greater than 13.7. It is an exceptional case. Please be conscious. If HF is the acid, the released energy is always greater than 13.7 kilocalories. Now, see here. H2SO4 reacts with 2 moles NaOH gives Na2SO4 plus 2 moles water in liquid. It is a strong acid, it is a strong base, it is the salt, it is a neutralization reaction. It is the neutralization reaction. There should be delta H value always released. This X value. How much is the X value? Tell me, boys. How much is that X value? Yes, tell me. Tell me. No, no. I don't ask heat of neutralization of this reaction. Actually, how much heat energy may be released? Tell me. Yes, because here 2 moles of water is formed. Actually, our statement for 1 mole. For 1 mole, 13.6. For 1 mole, 30.6. But 2 moles water is formed. That means that automatic release energy also doubled. Release energy also. Here the value is minus 2 into 13.6 kilocalorie per mole. And 2 into 13.6 kilocalorie per mole. But heat of neutralization is always expressed for 1 mole. Therefore, how much is the heat of neutralization? 13.6 L. But the 2 moles of water is formed. Therefore, during this reaction, so 2 into 13.6 kilocalorie per mole will be released. 2 into 13.6. 2 into 13.6. 13.6 means how much is the value? 6 to 12, 6, 7, 2, 27.2 kilocalorie per mole is released. 27.2 kilocalorie per mole, and per 27.2 kilocalorie per mole is the released energy. Because it is 2 moles. Because it is 2 moles. If 3 moles is formed, so multiply the value with 3N. Multiply the value with 3N. So see here. So here from H2SO4, that gives 2H plus ions, aqueous ions. So from this 2 OH minus ions, so aqueous ions gives, so 2 moles water molecule is formed. So because it is 2 times, it is 2 times, it is 2 times, automatically delta H value also 2 times that of 13.6. 2 times that of 13.6. So that is why the value is doubled. Heat of neutralization means, so the combination of 1 mole H plus ion, aqueous H plus ion with 1 mole aqueous OH minus ion to form 1 mole water molecule. To form 1 mole water molecule. So the amount of heat energy released is called as 13.6 kilocalorie per mole, which is called as heat of neutralization. So which is called heat of neutralization. Because it is a definition, it is restricted to 1 mole. It is restricted to 1 mole. If 2 moles are found, multiply the value with the 2 moles. With the 3 moles are found, multiply the value with the 3 moles. But heat of neutralization always expressed for 1 mole. Always heat of neutralization of any strong acid with strong base is always 13.6 kilocalorie per mole. So 13.6 kilocalorie per mole. And yes, if it is offered, automatically the value is going to be offered. Offered. But standard value for 1 mole. Standard value for 1 mole. Okay, so this is the way to express the heat of neutralization. So whenever a strong acid reacts with a strong base, so delta H value is minus 13.6 kilocalorie per mole or minus 13.7 57.3 kilojoule per mole. 13.6 or 13.7, whatever it may be, no problem, boys. 13.6 or 13.7, both are used in it. So regularly 13.6 is generally used. So 13.7, no problem, boys. Okay, this is the way. So it is very, very important. Heat of neutralization. If acid or base, no doubt here I am considering strong acid and strong base. If acid is not strong, it is a weak acid. Okay, it is weak acid plus strong base. There is a reaction. Or strong acid plus weak base, there is a reaction. Or weak acid plus weak base, there is a reaction. So in these cases, how much is the delta H neutralization? How much is the delta H neutralization? Now my topic is this one. So whenever strong acid reacts with a strong base, always the released energy is minus 13.7 kilocalorie per mole. or minus 57.3 kilojoule per mole if it is a strong acid and a strong base. So, but naturally, always strong acid or strong base may or may not be reacted in. If reacts, automatically there is a case set. If reacts, there is a case set. If not reacts, so maybe weak acid strong base may react, or weak base strong acid may be react, or weak acid and weak base may be react. Then only, there only, the same amount of energy may be released. Is this correct? No. So the released energy is not that much value, always less than that of that much value. If weak acid reacts with a strong base, or strong acid reacts with weak base, or weak acid reacts with weak base, the released heat energy is always less than 57.3 kilojoule per mole. Always less than, not equivalent. Less than 57. So why, sir? Why the value is decreased? See here, strong acid versus strong base, delta H neutralization is equal to minus 13.7 kilocalorie per mole, or minus 57.3 kilojoule per mole, and minus 57.3 kilojoule per mole. For example, if weak acid versus strong base, or strong acid versus weak base, or weak acid versus weak base may react. Now, delta H neutralization is always, the value is always less than minus 13.7 kilocalorie or minus 57.3 kilojoule per mole. Always less than, boys. Always less than. If any one of the acids or base, or both of the acid and base are weak, no doubt the value is always less than 13.7. How much, sir? That was depending on the nature of that accident. Something value is decreased, not exceeded that value. Always less than that value. That means heat of neutralization is always, the maximum value is always 13.7 kilocalorie per mole, except for HF. HF, its value is something more. Something more. So for all cases, it is the 13.7 kilocalorie per mole. So if any one of the acid or base, or both the acid and base are weak, the value should be less than. Why, sir? Why the value is decreased? Because what is weak acid? What is weak acid? Which is not completely ionized. Which is not completely ionized is called as weak acid. For example, CH3COOH. CH3COOH. It is acetic acid. It is weak acid. Weak acid. So if we take 10 molecules of acetic acid, this acetic acid is ionized as CH3COO minus ion and H plus ion. H plus ion. This is the ionization of acetic acid. So if 10, I'm taking 10 moles of this one. So among these 10, only 6 molecules are going to be dissociated. Only 6 molecules are going to be dissociated. That means 6 CH3CO minus ion, 6 H plus ions are there. Remaining 4 molecules are in undissociated case. Remaining 4 molecules are in undissociated case. That means, so completely the acid is not going to be dissociated. If completely dissociated, all the H plus ions are released. All these H plus ions are going to be react with OH. That means always the value is 13.7. Because see here, in case of HCl, I am taking 10 HCl, so that ionizes into H plus ion Cl minus ion. All these 10 molecules are going to be dissociated into 10 H plus ion. That is 10 H plus ions are there, 10 Cl minus ions are there. That means, so no undissociated HCl. all HCl is going to be dissociated. That means required number of H plus ions are 10 and that means the entire chemical is going to be dissociated. That is why it is called as strong acid, but it is weak acid. Weak acid means which is not completely dissociated. So for that purpose, to dissociate these 4 water molecules, I supply some energy. To dissociate these 4 molecules, I supply some energy. Let it be 5 kilojoule per mole energy. 5 kilojoule per mole energy is supplied. So after supplying this 5 kilojoule of energy, these are going to be dissociated. Now it becomes 10 energy. Now it becomes 10 energy. Therefore, 10 H plus ions are there. Now, so 10 means 13.7 kilocalorie per mole released. 13.7 kilocalorie per mole released. So that is the released energy. For this purpose, already I supplied 5 kilojoules of energy. This is the supplied energy. This is the energy required to ionize the CH3COOH. For complete ionization of CH3COOH. This energy is called as ionization energy. This energy is called as ionization energy. So already that is 13.7 kilocalories of energy released. So I supplied this energy. I subtracted that value. So that means 5 kilojoules of energy is I supplied. I'm extracting that 5 kilojoules of energy. Therefore, it gives 8.7 kilocalories of energy. That means finally it releases only 8.7 kilocalories, not 13.7 kilocalories, because I supplied energy is extracted from that energy. Therefore, finally, how much is the amount of energy released? That is just 8.7, not 13.7. So what happens at 5? That 5 is utilized for the ionization of that weak acid. That lesser value. How much is the lesser value? Here 5 kilojoules is something is less, decreased value. That decreased value is utilized for the ionization of that weak acid. That is why. So heat of neutralization between weak acid versus strong base or strong acid versus weak base. Heat of neutralization is always less than 13.7. So why? Because so something, the decreased value is utilized for the ionization of that weak acid or weak base or sometimes both. Or sometimes both. So the difference of those two values, that value is called as ionization energy. The difference of those two values is called as ionization energy. Here the difference of these two values is 5 and 8. That 5 is called as ionization energy of that weak acid. What is that weak acid? This is CH3COOH. Now this CH3COOH reacts with NaOH. So that released energy is 58.7 NA. Why? Because that value is decreased. Because the 5 is utilized for the ionization of this CH3COOH. CH3COOH. This is called as ionization energy. That means the difference of those energies is nothing but ionization energy of that weak acid or weak base, or both of them, or both of them. Okay. See, boys, HCl plus NaOH gives NaCl plus H2O. Delta H for this process is equal to minus 13.7 kilocalorie per mole. Next, CH3COOH plus NaOH combination gives CH3COONA plus H2O. In this process, delta H is equal to minus 13.2 kilocalorie per mole. Minus 13.2 kilocalorie per mole. Now, what is the delta H ionization of CH3COOH? What is the delta H ionization of CH3COOH? Question option is option 1, 0.5 in kilocalorie. Kilocalorie per mole. I am explaining. So 0.5 minus 0.5 minus, among these two answer, no doubts. Is it 0.5 or minus 0.5? Positive or negative? Yes, answer is 0.5 because it is supplied energy. It is supplied energy. Supplied energy means absorbed energy. Absorbed energy means endothermic energy. Endothermic is always positive. endothermic. Therefore, enthalpy of ionization is always positive, boys. Enthalpy of ionization is always positive. So how to calculate? So enthalpy of ionization is equal to so delta H neutralization of weak acid plus strong base minus delta H neutralization of strong acid plus strong base. Strong acid plus strong base. So which is equal to, so minus 13.2 minus of minus that plus 13.7, which is equal to 0.5. It should be positive. It should be positive. So this is the way to calculate percentage ionization of delta H ionization of that weak acid or weak acid versus weak, strong base. Okay, so it is for ionization cases. So heat of ionization is always endothermic. Heat of ionization is always endothermic. So that is why delta H value is always positive. So this is that much value. This is that much value. Okay, it is about heat of neutralization. It is about heat of neutralization. Next. Next, that is measurement of delta H combustion, delta H naught, and delta H naught neutralization. So measurement of delta H combustion and delta H neutralization. That is how to measure heat of combustion and heat of neutralization. How to measure heat of combustion and heat of neutralization. This heat of combustion and heat of neutralization both are measured with the help of bomb calorimeter. Already I told to you in thermodynamic concepts, bomb calorimeter. So by using bomb calorimeter, it is possible. By using bomb calorimeter, we can measure both these delta H values. So in bomb calorimeter, the reaction is carried out at constant volume and is carried out at constant volume. Therefore, we calculate delta U and not delta H. Not delta H. So during bomb calorimeter, the measured value is delta U, not delta H. So this delta U value is changed to delta H by using delta H is equal to delta U plus delta N RT. By using this equation, so by using this delta U value, we can calculate delta H value. So bomb calorimeter is the experiment is conducted at constant volume. So the quantity, the value used to how to calculate the delta U value in using bomb calorimeter, that is Q is equal to MS delta T. It is the formula at constant volume. So it is heat capacity, that is heat capacity at constant volume, and it is the amount of heat at constant volume. M is the mass of the substance going to be burned. So specific heat of the substance. So delta H, that is the change in enthalpy, change in temperatures. By using formula, this formula, Q is equal to MS delta T, which is called as. By using this QB is nothing but delta U and so delta U is measured. So some problems are there. I will give those problems tomorrow and please wait up to that. So this is the formula generally used to measure delta U value. And after getting this delta U value, this value is changed to delta H by using delta H is equal to delta U plus delta N RT. Similarly, heat of neutralization also same way. Heat of neutralization and heat of combustion both are measured with bomb calorimeter. And both are measured with bomb calorimeter. Next. Next, different types of reactions. See here, what is heat of combustion? During combustion, released energy is heat of combustion. At standard state, that is called as the standard heat of combustion. What is heat of neutralization? That is nothing but enthalpy of neutralization. What is enthalpy of neutralization or heat of neutralization? That is the amount of heat energy released when a neutralization reaction takes place between strong acid and strong base, or acid and base. Okay, that means during neutralization reaction, the heat changes is heat of neutralization. During combustion reaction, the heat changes is heat of combustion. Like that. So during sublimation, the heat changes is sublimation energy. During melting energy, like this. So the name of the reaction, so the heat released is taken as, so that's like that. Okay, I will give, wait, Parshit. Okay, so this is the way. That means if you know the type of reaction, the heat changes during that reaction is taken as the heat of that reaction, heat of that process. Heat of that process or enthalpy of that process. Change in enthalpy, not enthalpy, but it is a change in enthalpy of that process. Okay, if solution is prepared, during the solution, something heat energy may be released or absorbed, making a solution. That means the released or absorbed energy is called as heat of solution or enthalpy of solution. Okay, so that means if you know the process name, so during that process, something heat energy may be released or absorbed, that is called as heat of that particular process. Or enthalpy change of that particular process. Enthalpy change of that particular process. So see here, I will explain some concepts. Next one, enthalpy of solution. Enthalpy of solution. What is this, Partha? Nothing but the amount of heat energy released during the preparation of solution. Released or absorbed, not released. See, boys, so take an experiment. So listen carefully. Let us take two glasses. In both these glasses, 1 liter water is taken. These two beakers having 1 liter water, boys. It is water. It is also water. Listen carefully. I don't repeat. I am not ready to repeat the concept. These are 1 liter water. 1 liter water. In this beaker or a glass, 1 mole glucose is added. 1 mole glucose is added. In this beaker, 1 mole NaOH is added. 1 mole NaOH is added. That means, so water, it is a solvent, boys. It is a solvent. Okay. So here, this glucose is a solute. In this solution, this NaOH is also solute in the second reaction. Solutes are different, but solvent is the same. I am trying to prepare a solution by dissolving that solute and solvent, that solute in solvent. So now this glucose is dissolved here, that gives glucose solution. That is taken as a glucose solution. Now it is NaOH solution. NaOH, both are in aqueous glucose solution, aqueous NaOH solution. Two solutions are I am here prepared. So when this glucose is dissolved in water, automatically the temperature of the glass is gradually decreases. You feel it, no doubt. So take this experiment in your home. So take a glass of water. So dissolve glucose and stir well. Automatically the gas gets cooled. The gas gets cooled. Why, sir? Because of dissolution. When the solute is dissolved in water, it requires some energy. That means it requires energy for the dissolution of the glucose into water. That energy is collecting from glass surface. Energy is, the glass has something energy in it. Energy is nothing but temperature. The glass has room temperature. So that temperature is collected, the glucose during the dissolution. That means the temperature of the glass gradually decreases. That's why we feel glass temperature decrease. We feel that one has a cooling effect. When glucose is dissolved in water, automatically we feel cooling effect. That means, so the preparation of this glucose is endothermic process. Some heat energy absorbed. Some heat energy absorbed. So making of glucose solution is an example to endothermic preparation, endothermic process. For example, here an NaOH dissolved here, something heat released. Heat released, boys. Automatically the temperature of this gas abnormally increases. So almost almost the gas is fell down because of that heat. Fell down because we have that much efficiency to bring that border, that glass in. Huge amount of heat energy may be released then. Huge amount of heat energy may be released. Okay, so that energy is from when NaOH is dissolved in water. That means it is an exothermic process. So finally tell me, boys, making of solution is exothermic or endothermic or both? Making of solution is an exothermic or endothermic or both? Tell me, based on these two experiments. No doubt it is both. Okay, something heat energy may be released or something heat energy may be absorbed. Okay, so that released or absorbed energy, when 1 mole substance is dissolved in a fixed quantity of solution, fixed quantity of solvent, is called as heat of solution. This is something heat energy is absorbed. This is called as heat of solution. This is something energy is released. This is called as heat of solution. Heat of solution. That means heat of solution is nothing but either released energy or absorbed energy. So did you catch my point? It is very, very important, boys. So making of solution may be exothermic or endothermic. Making of solution is an exothermic or endothermic. Now see here. So the same experiment, once again I am repeating. I'm repeating experiments. See here. So water, something glucose is added. It is water. Something glucose, something undissolved glucose is there. Undissolved, let it be undissolved, because huge amount of glucose is dissolved. Undissolved glucose is there. Similarly here also. This is water. There is NaOH, my dear boys. There is undissolved NaOH is there. Now I want to try to dissolve that undissolved chemicals in both the cases. For that purpose, so I'm going to be heated. Heat this glass, first glass. Because the process required something heat energy, because it is endothermic process, because this is endothermic process, when heat is supplied, automatically it is going to be dissolved. That means solubility increases because of this heating, because of it is endothermic process. Because it is exothermic process, because itself it is released energy, so as heat is supplied, so solubility decreased, boys. So during heating, the solubility of this chemical, that NaOH, that means the percentage of undissolved NaOH as the temperature increases, decreases. That undissolved value increases. That means solubility decreases. So therefore, in case of exothermic solutions, exothermic process solutions, as the temperature increases, exothermic solubility decreases. In case of endothermic cases, as temperature increases, solubility of that particular chemical also increases. Also, that means, so as temperature increases, what about the solubility of solutes in the solution? So we can't say directly. Sorry, is this exothermic process or endothermic process for the making of solution? If it is exothermic, increase the temperature, decrease the solubility. If it is endothermic, increase of temperature increases the solubility if it is endothermic. If it is endothermic. So this is the way to express the enthalpy of solutions and enthalpy of so that may be released energy or absorbed energy. That may be released energy or absorbed energy. So okay. So now enthalpy of solution. Enthalpy of solution is generally calculated for ionic compounds. For ionic compounds, delta H solution is the combination of delta H lattice energy plus delta H enthalpy change during lattice process and delta H for hydration energy. So it is the formula used to calculate enthalpy of solution. Enthalpy of solution is equal to sum of the lattice energy of that particular chemical plus hydration energy of that particular chemical. What is this lattice energy? What is this hydration energy? Later I will explain it. Later. So generally, lattice energy is a positive, my dear boys. Hydration energy value is a negative value. So hydration energy is negative value. So whenever a chemical hydration energy is greater than lattice energy, the substance is soluble. Substance is soluble. And so this is the condition required for the solubility of particular ionic chemicals. And that ionic chemical has both lattice energy and hydration energy. If hydration energy is greater than that of lattice energy, that chemical is soluble in that particular water. If reverse is there, that is not soluble in that water. What is this lattice energy? What is this hydration energy? I will explain. Wait. Okay. So very, very important. If hydration energy is greater than lattice energy, so the substance soluble in water, in particular water, because it is hydration. Hydration term is applicable for water solutions, aqueous solutions. Okay. Now, what is this lattice energy? What is this hydration energy? See here, briefly I will explain. Briefly I will explain. See here, boys. There is NaCl ionic compound. This is plus ion, minus ion. I'm taking 1 mole NaCl. I'm taking 1 mole NaCl. It is ionic compound, boys. Ionic. I'm trying to separate this Na plus and Cl minus ion up to there is no interaction between them. Up to there is no interaction between them. So now I'm trying to break this NaCl chemical into respect to ion. So I pull this ion to this side and this ion to this side. I'm trying to pull the compounds. I'm trying to pull the concept in. Okay. See here. What is this? What is this? Okay. Na plus and Cl minus. So I'm trying this Na plus ion up to this one into gaseous ion. This Cl minus ion to up to this one, which is also gaseous ion. So between these two, no interaction. Up to that, I'm separating those two ions. And for this purpose, there is a need of something energy. So for this, there is a need of some energy. And this energy is called as lattice energy of that particular solid. This energy is called as lattice energy. What is lattice energy? There is the amount of energy required to separate 1 mole lattice ionic compound into respective gaseous ions up to there is no interaction between them. That energy is called as lattice energy. Lattice energy. So if lattice energy, this energy is more means it is difficult to separate it. That's why it requires more energy. That means this NaCl is very stable. This NaCl, therefore, the stability of ionic compounds is directly proportional to lattice energy. And the stability of ionic compound is directly proportional to lattice energy. More is the lattice energy, more difficult to separate. Less is the lattice energy, easy to separate it. This is the energy absorbed process for this case. Energy absorbed positive. Here delta H is positive and here delta H is positive. Something energy is I applied to separate them. Okay, it is lattice energy. Okay, now what is hydration energy? So that is hydration energy. I will explain. Enthalpy of hydration. Enthalpy of hydration, which is also called as hydration energy. And enthalpy of hydration or hydration energy. What is this enthalpy of hydration or hydration energy? See here, there is a beaker. It is full of water. It is water boiled. Water, it is the formula, it is the structure for water molecule. So oxygen is more electronegative, it is partial, it has partial negative charge. This is partial positive charge, this is also partial positive charge. Because oxygen is more electronegative than hydrogen. It is a polar molecule. It is a polar molecule and it is a polar solvent. Polar solvent. So now this H2O molecule I am trying to symbolize like this. Here this symbol is used. This symbol is nothing but that H2O. This cross, that is it vertex. This vertex is equal to oxygen. This one is hydrogen. This one is hydrogen. This has negative charge. This has positive charge. This has positive charge. Please try to mind it. This one and this one are same. Okay. So now I dissolve NaCl. So during when NaCl is entered into the water, automatically it breaks down into Na plus ion and Cl minus ion. So around this Na plus ion, all the water molecules are coming around this Na plus ion. And also around this Cl minus ion, water molecules are surrounded. How, sir? Why, sir? How is this possible? Why is this possible? See here, this is Na plus ion in water. This is the Na plus ion in water. So water means this one. Because it has positive charge, negative part is attracted. Water negative part attracted to this Na plus ion. This is orange aligned towards Na plus ion. Because it is plus, all these also are minus ion. So these are attracted. That means water molecules are attracted towards Na plus, where there is actual energy. Because of the process, so some energy released. Some energy released. Now there is a Cl minus ion in the water. There is a Cl minus ion in the water. So water has at this end positive charge this end, water H2O, H plus. Therefore, all hydrogens are towards that Cl minus ion. Towards that Cl minus ion. So because of that, this much, these are also water molecules. These water molecules are also surrounded with the Cl minus ion because of attraction between this H plus ion and Cl minus ion. So during this process also, some energy released. Some energy released. So that means Na plus ion is surrounded with water, Cl minus ion is surrounded with water. So because of this surrounding of water molecules, some huge amount of energy will be released. That is the sum of this energy and this energy. It is due to there is accumulation of water molecules around that particular ion cell. So this is due to water molecules. That's why the released energy is called as hydration energy. Hydration means water energy. Hydration energy. So more is the attraction, more is the amount of energy released. Less is the attraction, less is the energy released. It is possible only if ions are exist, ions are separated. That means hydration energy trying to separate those ions. Hydration energy trying to separate. More is the hydration energy means more is the water molecules around. That means the ions are easy to come out. Therefore, hydration energy try to separate ions. Hydration energy try to separate ions. So that is lattice energy try to unite ions. More is the lattice energy, ions are closely packed, strongly attracted. That means, so lattice energy try to unite ions, hydration energy try to separate ions. When those ions are going to separate, it is easy to solubilate. It is easy to solubilate. Okay. Therefore, the chemical whose hydration energy greater than lattice energy, the particular chemical is more soluble. If the particular energy is called as is more soluble. So now hydration energy. When 1 mole chemical is dissolved in water, the amount of energy released during the process because of accumulation of those water molecules around that ion is called as hydration energy. Particular ions is called as hydration energy. So this is hydration energy. So I will explain with examples. So now guys, the values are given to you. The values are given to you. Don't worry. So but you know the statement. What is the difference between hydration energy and lattice energy? Okay, all those values are supplied. It is easy to calculate it. Please wait. Okay, so whenever hydration energy greater than lattice energy, automatically that particular ionic compound is soluble in water. If reverse is there, the compound is not soluble in water. Not soluble in water. If water is taken, that energy is called as hydration. If solvent is water, hydration energy. If solvent is any other, that energy, the released energy is called as solvation energy. If water is there, hydration energy. If other than water is the solvent, that energy is called as solvation energy. Solvation energy. It is the hydration energy concept. It is the hydration energy is the released energy. Hydration energy is the released energy. Lattice energy is the absorbed energy and required energy to break the chemical into ions. Okay, so this is hydration energy. Next, one more way to express the hydration energy. It is one way. Next, see boys, this is CuSO4. There is no water molecules here. This is called as anhydrous CuSO4. Anhydrous CuSO4. This anhydrous CuSO4 reacts with 5 moles of water. It is a solid form. It is in liquid form. 5 moles water molecules that converted into CuSO4 5H2O. CuSO4 5H2O, which is called as hydrated copper sulfate. Hydrated copper sulfate. It is anhydrous copper sulfate converted into hydrated copper sulfate because of addition of this water molecule. That means these water molecules are added into the crystals of this CuSO4. That means anhydrous substance, 1 mole anhydrous substance is converted into 1 mole hydrated substance. During this process, something energy may be released. This released energy is also called as hydration energy. This is another way to express the hydration energy. Anhydrous substances are converted into hydrated substance. The released energy also called as hydration energy. So ionic substances are dissolved in water. Because of water accumulation, something energy is released. That is also hydration energy. Both these are accepted. Both these are accepted. Okay. See boys, there is a problem based on this topic. That is, for NaCl, lattice energy is equal to plus 780H, hydration energy is equal to minus 784. Therefore, delta H solution is equal to how much? Delta H solution is equal to how much? What is the formula to calculate delta H solution? Delta H, enthalpy of solution, is equal to, so lattice energy, delta H lattice energy plus delta H hydration energy. Delta H hydration energy. So, okay, so that is What is the formula? Hydration energy. This is equal to 788 plus minus of 784, which is equal to 788 minus 784, which is equal to just plus 4 value. Just plus 4 value, which is called as, it is positive value, and it is enthalpy of solution. It is a way to calculate enthalpy of solution if lattice energy and hydration energies are given to you. If lattice energy and hydration energy are given to you, the formula used to calculate enthalpy of solution is enthalpy of lattice enthalpy minus plus hydration enthalpy. Lattice enthalpy plus hydration enthalpy. Generally, lattice enthalpy is positive, hydration enthalpy is the negative. Hydration enthalpy is negative. So these are correct values, no doubts. So from data, I collected this one. These are correct values. Okay, so it is very, very important. Lattice energy generally positive, and that is absorbed energy to separate them into ions. This hydration energy is released energy, then ions are going to enter into the water. Okay, so it is lattice energy and hydration energy concept. Next one. Enthalpy. Here, which one is more? Which one is there? So lattice energy is greater than hydration energy. Magnitude value, you should consider magnitude value. Lattice energy greater than hydration energy means it is not soluble. Not soluble. In this case, at this situation, it is not soluble. This is enthalpy of solution. This is enthalpy of solution. So is this clear, boys? These are different variety of expressing of enthalpy of reactions. Enthalpy of reactions. Next one. That is enthalpy of transition ending. Enthalpy of transition. What is the meaning of transition? One allotrope into other allotrope or particular substance. Transition means conversion of one allotrope into another end. The process is called as a transition. During that process, some heat energy may be absorbed. Some heat energy may be absorbed. So that absorbed energy is called as enthalpy of transition. During transition, heat energy, and I explained heat energy. That is which is called as enthalpy of transition. So enthalpy of transition. So for example, carbon graphite, it is one of the allotropes of carbon. Change it to carbon diamond. Carbon graphite is changed to carbon diamond. So during this process, delta H is equal to plus 1.9 kilojoules. Plus 1.9 kilojoules. That energy is called as enthalpy of transition of carbon. Carbon allotrope changes. One allotrope is changed to another allotrope. The heat changes is called as enthalpy of transition. Enthalpy of transition. Next one. Enthalpy of atomization. Enthalpy of atomization. What is this enthalpy of atomization? Conversion of molecule into respective atoms. Molecule into atoms. So here CH4 molecule is there. This is in gaseous state. This is molecule boys. This molecule is changed to carbon gaseous atom and 4 hydrogens gaseous atoms. So these are nothing but atoms. That means gaseous molecule is changed to gaseous atoms. During this process, delta H is a positive and this energy is called as enthalpy of atomization, conversion of molecule into atom. During that process, something energy is required. It is endothermic process. That energy is called as enthalpy of atomization. That means all 1 mole chemical is break down into respective gaseous atoms. That energy required for 1 mole chemical to break down into respect to gaseous atoms is called as enthalpy of atomization. Enthalpy of atomization. It is very, very important. Sometimes, so during problems, I will use this concept and I will use this concept. Next one. Next one, bond enthalpy. Next one is bond enthalpy. What is this bond enthalpy? That is, so see here, there is A atom, there is B atom. These two are moving towards each other. That gives there is a bond formation. It is the bond. So during this bond formation, there is an attraction between A and B. That means, so during bond formation, some energy released. Where there is attraction, always energy released. Some energy released. This released energy is called as bond energy. So what is bond energy? That is the amount of energy released when 1 mole bonds are formed. See here, 1 mole bonds are formed between the gaseous atoms. Between the gaseous atoms is called as bond energy during the formation of 1 mole chemical end. So this is bond energy. So during the formation of 1 mole bond end, see here there is AB bond. There is AB bond. Now I am going to break this bond into respect to atoms. A atom, B atom. These are atoms. This is molecule. So here 1 mole bonds are considered. So I am using something energy to break this 1 mole bond into respect to atoms. This energy, this is absorbed energy. This energy is called as bond energy. But this is called as bond dissociation energy. Bond dissociation energy. This is bond formation energy. This is bond dissociation energy. So for atomic molecules, for diatomic molecules, bond energy is equal to bond dissociation energy. But magnitude is same, opposite in sign. One is released energy, another one is absorbed energy. So during the formation of 1 mole bond, something energy is released. During the breaking of 1 mole bond, something energy is absorbed. Or in case of dynamic molecules, bond energy is equal to bond dissociation energy, but opposite in sign. One is absorbed energy, another one is released energy. Bond dissociation energy is positive, bond released energy is the negative energy. But magnitude value is the same. Magnitude value is the same. It is only in case of diatomic molecules, boys. But polyatomic molecules, in case of polyatomic molecules, this is not good. It is not corrected. In case of polyatomic molecules, it is not correct. See here. See here. There is a CH4 molecule, boy. There is CH4 molecule. I am trying to bridge bonds. That's why they converted into CH3 and hydrogen atom, carbon with radical. Here, delta H is positive plus A. It is bond dissociation energy of CH bond, first bond. Bond dissociation energy. Now, there is a CH3. I am using something energy. So there, this bond is going to be break. This is hydrogen, 2 atoms. So one more hydrogen is there. For this process, delta H is equal to plus B. Something energy. These two energies are not equal because atom's environment is changed. Here 4 bonds are there, that's the A energy is required. Here 3 bonds are only there, that's the B energy is required. Both these bond energies are not same. Both these energies are not same. So that is B. It is the bond dissociation energy of second CH bond. Now it is converted into, I am going to bring this bond. It is carbon with hydrogen. What hydrogen is coming out? For this, delta H is equal to plus C. This is the required energy to that bond. Plus Cn. Now this one also going to be break. Therefore, carbon with bond carbon plus hydrogen atom. And okay. So this is for this delta H is equal to plus D. So this is the fourth bond energy. This is the third bond energy. This is the second bond energy. This is the first bond energy. Now all these are CH bond energies. All these are CH bond energies, but not equal. Now what is the CH bond energy? All these average value is taken as bond energy. And therefore, bond energy of CH bonds is equal to A plus B plus C plus D by 4. 4 bonds are going to be break. So this is the average energy. So this is the bond energy. It is the bond, but bond dissociation energy. Bond dissociation energy, that means this is the first bond dissociation energy, it is the second bond dissociation energy, it is third bond dissociation energy, it is the fourth bond dissociation energy. That means bond dissociation energies are not equal to bond energies in case of polyatomic molecules. In case of polyatomic molecules. Okay, so this is very, very important. This is very, very important. So already in my notes, all these values, A, B, C, D values are given to you. Please try to memorize those values. So it is very, very important, and it is very, very important. This is about bond dissociation energy and bond energy. So just once again, I'm repeating the concept. Which values I will give? With values I will give. CH4 is changed to CH3 with hydrogen. Delta H is equal to plus 427 kilojoule per mole. That is first bond is going to break. Next, see all these are gaseous elements, my boys. Bond breaking, bond forming is always in gaseous state. Okay, CH3 is changed to CH2 by breaking one more atom. That is delta is equal to, in this case, that is delta H1, delta H2 plus 439 kilojoule per mole. Now CH2 change it to CH plus hydrogen. All these are gaseous. Once again, I am repeating. All are gaseous in state. This is delta H3, let it be, which is 452. 452 kilojoules per mole. Next, CH gaseous ion, change it to C plus Hn. Now delta H4 is equal to plus 347. Plus 347. This is the value set. These are the values. Now add these. CH3, CH3 cancel. CH2, CH2 cancel. CH, CH cancel. Therefore, CH4 gaseous change it to C gaseous plus 4 hydrogen gaseous atom. 4 hydrogens. So for this purpose, total delta H is equal to sum of all these values. Sum of all these values. So sum of all these values. This is total 4 bonds breaking energy. Therefore, CH bond energy is equal to this sum value by 4n. Because for 4 bonds, this value any, for 1 CH bond, this is value, this is called as a bond energy coefficient. This is called as a bond energy. Finally, we will get the answer 416n. 416 after that addition and division with 4, we will get 416 as 416.25. That energy is called as bond dissociation energy of CH bond. Actually, these are all CH bond energies. All these are CH bond energies, but different environments. But so overall, the average value considered. The average value we will consider. So the way to express bond dissociation energy. Bond dissociation energy. So it is only in case of polyatomic molecules. For diatomic molecules, only one bond is there or 2 bonds are there. Bond formation energy is equal to bond dissociation energy. But polyatomic molecules, the number of bonds are there. It is not easy to compare these two. Okay, so this is the way to express bond dissociation energy. So next, Enthalpy of phase transitions and enthalpy of phase transitions. Enthalpy of phase transitions. What is the phase transition? That is change of physical state. Phase transition means change of physical state. That means solid change it to liquid, liquid change it to gas, or solid directly change it to gas. Solid change it to liquid, liquid change it to gas, or solid directly change it to gas. Same chemical, same chemical. Okay, see here H2O, solid end. Change it to H2O, liquid, change it to H2O, gas. Or sometimes solid is directly change it to gas. That means the solid change it to liquid, liquid change it to gas, or solid directly change it to gas. So this process is called as fusion. The process of conversion of solid into liquid is called as a fusion. The process of conversion of liquid into gas is called as a vaporization. Vaporization. So conversion of solid into gas is called as a sublimation. So what is sublimation? The process of conversion of solid directly into gas without involving liquid stage. Actually, solid first changes to liquid, liquid changes to gas. But directly solid changes to gas. So how, sir? Take camphor. Camphor end. That is actually solid end. Curcumin. That is actually in solid state. So burn that one. Burn that one. It is automatically evaporated into gaseous state. There is no liquid phase. That means, so camphor is sublimated. Camphor is sublimated. It is not possible, my dear boy, Varshit, to give the formula. Okay, that means, so sometimes the solids are directly changed to gas. The process is called as a sublimation process. Sublimation process. So for all these processes, conversion of solid into liquid or liquid into gas or solid into gas, so there is heat absorbed. So just the heating of solid in solid automatically converted into liquid. So heating of liquid gives gas. So heating of solid directly gives gases. That means all these are heat absorbed process. All these are endothermic processes. All these are endothermic processes. The energy required to convert 1 mole of solid into liquid is called as enthalpy of fusion. So 1 mole of liquid into gas is called as enthalpy of vaporization. 1 mole of solid into gas is called as enthalpy of sublimation. Enthalpy of sublimation. Because these are the names of those processes, so automatically the energy involved in those processes are called as enthalpy of that process. Enthalpy of fusion, enthalpy of sublimation, enthalpy of vaporization. Is this easy or not? Tell me why. So see here. So enthalpy of fusion. Enthalpy of fusion, enthalpy of vaporization, enthalpy of sublimation. So here delta H is positive. Here also delta H is positive. Here also delta H is positive because all these are energy releases, energy absorbed process. Energy. So always these are 1 mole chemical or 1 mole liquid or 1 mole solid. Conversion of that 1 mole into respect to other physical states. That is called as enthalpy cases. Okay. So it is for 1 mole, enthalpy of sublimation or enthalpy of fusion is there. So see here. H2O solid, change it to H2O liquid. For this process, delta H naught, my dear boys, not means a standard state. So enthalpy of fusion for this process is equal to plus the value is 6 kilojoule per mole. 6 kilojoule per mole. Okay. So this is enthalpy of fusion. So this is for 1 mole boys. Now I'm calculating for 1 gram boys. I'm calculating for 1 gram, which is called as, the value is called as latent heat of fusion. Latent heat of fusion means that is enthalpy of fusion per gram. Enthalpy of fusion per gram is called as latent heat of fusion. How to convert that latent heat of fusion is indicated with the letter LF. Latent heat of fusion. Therefore, latent heat of fusion is equal to enthalpy of fusion by its atomic weight or molecular weight. If it is the atom, that is atomic weight, or molecule, or use molecular weight. So this is the way to calculate latent heat of fusion. Latent heat of fusion. Similarly, H2O liquid is there, converts into H2O gas. Here it is, the process is called as vaporization. The process is called as vaporization. For this process, delta H is equal to something extra. It is per kilojoule per mole. I don't know the value, kilojoule per mole. So this value, enthalpy of vaporization, delta H naught vaporization. So this value per 1 mole. Now the same value, enthalpy of vaporization per gram, I want to calculate it. This is called as latent heat of vaporization. This is called as latent heat of vaporization. Therefore, latent heat of vaporization is equal to delta H naught vaporization by molecular weight of that chemical. Molecular weight of that chemical, so which is called as latent heat of vaporization, latent heat of fusion. These are frequently used in our problems and very, very important. Very, very important. So latent heat of vaporization and latent heat of fusion. Latent heat means that is the enthalpy of fusion for 1 gram. So latent heat of vaporization means that is the enthalpy of vaporization for 1 gram. Enthalpy of vaporization for 1 gram. These are called as different phase changes. Solid to liquid, that is called as fusion. Liquid to gas, which is called as vaporization. Solid direct change to gas, which is called as sublimation. Different processing. Okay, so these are the different ways to express the heat changes. So different ways to express the heat changes. So today I concluded here. Thank you, one and all.